Hello everyone. Welcome to the new session of Biomolecules NCRT revision. This is the fourth part of this chapter, and in this chapter we are going to study about the chemical composition analysis and primary and secondary metabolites. Okay, so we are having a lot of tissues, and we want to analyze that what are the biomolecules are present in the tissues. Okay, so here we are going to study about how to analyze chemical composition. Okay, so what type of organic compounds are found in the living organism? So when we are studying about the organic compounds or the biomolecules presence in the living organism, then what we have to do, we have to take the tissue of that living organism, that particular living organism. That can be a vegetable or a piece of a liver. Okay, if it is an animal, then we can take any tissue. For example, that can be a liver or a vegetable if it is a plant. Okay, grind it in trichloroacetic acid. You have to remember this name, trichloroacetic acid, using a mortar and pestle. So what is mortar and pestle? It is something like this, made up of stone, and sometimes it is metal also. Okay, mortar and pestle, and you have to crush that tissue with trichloroacetic acid. Okay, and make a slurry of it. You have to make a slurry of it. If we were to stain this through a cheesecloth or the cotton, we would obtain two fractions. You will obtain two fractions. One is called as a filtrate. When you filter out with the help of the chisel cloth or the cotton cloth, then you will have a filtrate. Okay, or more technically, acid soluble pool. That will be also called as acid soluble pool. And the second is the retinate, the acid insoluble fraction. So that is the left in the cloth. That is the acid insoluble fraction. So scientists have found thousands of organic compounds in the acid soluble pool. This acid, that is the filtrate, that is the acid soluble pool. Many biomolecules are present in that, and scientists analyze those biomolecules. Okay, so to study what type of biomolecules present in a particular organism, as a sample, we have to take a tissue of that particular organism and crush it with the help of mortar and pestle by taking a solution that is trichloroacetic acid. You have to remember that name. Okay, so are all organisms are made up of same kind of organic compounds? So living organisms are primarily composed of a complex organic molecules. Okay, they are not very simple. They are complex organic molecules which are rich in carbon and hydrogen. So generally they are rich in carbon and hydrogen. The organisms having the biomolecules, they are rich in carbon and hydrogen. So these elements form the building blocks of life. Their tissues, their muscles, their bones, all are generally made up of these two elements. Okay, that forms the protein, carbohydrates, lipids, and nucleic acid. Oxygen is the abundant in both the living organism as well as in the earth crust. So major component of the body tissue is made up of the oxygen. Then comes carbon and then hydrogen. And small amount nitrogen. Even the protein contain nitrogen. Okay. So what is biochemistry? As we are studying about the biomolecule, then this study of the biomolecule comes under this branch of science that is called as biochemistry. It is a science that deals with the chemicals and physiochemical reactions. We are studying about the reactions in that undergoes chemicals and physiochemical reactions that are present or that are found in living organisms and in their life processes, that are present in the living organism as well as in their life processes. So the carbon containing chemicals and the molecules of the living organism are called as the biomolecules or biological molecules. So all carbon containing chemicals that are present in the living organisms are called as biomolecules. The collection or the sum total of the different types of biomolecules, compounds and ions present in the cell is called as cellular pool. So this is the collection, or you can say the sum total of all the biomolecules, present in an organism, that is called as cellular pool of that organism. Substances that forms the true solution are called as the colloidal solution or true solutions. So this cell contain cellular pool, and in those cellular pool the biomolecules are present in the solutions. So that substance is in the form of colloidal solution. Chemicals or the cellular pools are of the two types. Okay, so we are having two types of cellular pools present in a cell, that is in the form of inorganic and also organic. Inorganic constituents of the cellular pools are the minerals, gases and water. Okay, so these are the three different forms of the inorganic component present in the cellular pool. Inorganic substances do not contain carbon along with the hydrogen. They do not contain carbon along with the hydrogen. Otherwise, it will be considered as organic component. The organic compounds are carbohydrates, lipids, amino acids, proteins, enzymes, nucleotides, nucleic acids, vitamins, etc. So these are the organic compounds along with the inorganic compound present in the cellular pool. Organic molecule possesses carbon and hydrogen. So I've already told you that if any organism containing both carbon and hydrogen, then it will be considered as organic compound. Okay, so here are some of the inorganic constituents that are present in the cellular pool, or we can say they are present in the living tissues. What are those? Sodium. Sodium, it is present in the form of sodium ion. Potassium, it is also present in the form of potassium ion. Calcium, magnesium, water and other compounds like NaCl, calcium carbonate, phosphate and sulfates of different elements. So these are the some of the inorganic constituents that are present in the living tissues. Okay, so we have been till now we have discussed about proteins, we have discussed about carbohydrates, we have discussed about the nucleic acid. Okay, so this part is left, that is amino acids. Amino acids are the we can say very important for the synthesis of the proteins. Okay, so amino acids are the organic compounds containing amino group and an acidic group. It is containing two groups, very important, amino group and acidic group. And substituents on the same carbon, they are attached to the same carbon, amino group and COOH, this acidic group is attached to the same carbon, and this carbon is called as alpha carbon. So carbon is having 4 valency. So one is hydrogen and other can be alkyl group. That can be R. It varies. It can be CH3, it can be CH2, CH3, okay, like this. So hence they are called as alpha amino acid because it is having alpha carbon. All the 4 attachment to this carbon is different. That is why it is called as alpha carbon. They are substituted methanes. Okay, they are substituted methanes. Methane is CH4. Okay, so 3 hydrogen has been replaced by, at 1 hydrogen NH2 group is attached, at 1 other hydrogen is replaced by the COH group, okay, and another hydrogen is replaced by an alkyl group. So there are 4 substituent groups occupying the 4 valency position. So this is a structure of an amino acid. These are hydrogen, carboxyl group, amino group, a variable group designated as R group. So there are the 4 different group attached to the alpha carbon. Based on the nature of the R group, there are many amino acids. So R group vary every time, and that changes the amino acid. However, those which occur in proteins are only of 20 types. There are 20 different types of amino acids. The R group in these proteinaceous amino acid can be a hydrogen. The amino acid will be called as glycine. If it is like this, this is the alpha carbon, COOH group, NH2 group, then it is a glycine. A methyl group, if it is CH3, a methyl group, then it will be alanine. Okay, hydroxymethyl, then it will be serine. So like this R group varies, okay, and every time it changes the amino acid's name. The chemical and the physical properties of the amino acid are essentially of amino, carboxyl and R functional group. So the chemical and physical properties of any amino acid depends upon the groups they are attached to the alpha carbon. So one group is amino group, one group is carboxyl group, and another one is the R, that is the functional group. So depending upon the type of groups attached to the alpha carbon, their chemical and physical properties get changed. Based on the number of amino and the carboxyl group, they can be acidic, like glutamic acid and aspartic acid. They can be basic. One of the basic amino acid is the lysine, and sometimes it is neutral, that is valine. Similarly, there are aromatic amino acids. The R group is having aromatic group. So there are 3 different amino acids that comes under the aromatic group, that is the tyrosine, phenylalanine and tryptophan. These are the 3 different aromatic amino acids. So you have to remember this. Sometimes the question are asked on these types of amino acids. A particular property of amino acid is ionizable nature of NH2 and COOH groups. Hence, in the solution of the different pH, the structure of amino acid changes. So this is very, very important. Okay. Neutral amino acid. This is a classification of amino acid based on their types of group and their chemical and physical properties. So neutral: glycine, alanine, valine, leucine and isoleucine. These are neutral amino acids. Okay, neutral, they both are having acidic and basic, but they get compensated and they become neutral. Acidic amino acids: aspartic acid, asparagine and glutamic acids. Basic amino acids: arginine and lysine. There are the 2 basic amino acids, arginine and lysine. Sulfur containing amino acids. Okay, so disulfide bridges are present in the tertiary conformation of the protein. So cysteine and methionine are the 2 amino acids get involved in the formation of disulfide bridges in the third conformation of the proteins. Next is the aromatic amino acid. We have already discussed about this. Phenylalanine, tyrosine and tryptophan. There are the 3 different aromatic amino acids. Okay, so this is very important, that formation of zwitterion. A particular property of amino acid is the ionizable nature of NH2 and COH group. So at lower pH, okay, at lower pH, we are having cation form of amino acid. Here you can see positive ion. So that is the cation. So at lower pH, the amino acid present in this form. This is pH increasing in this form. Okay. So what happened? And when the pH is at high, then you will have an anion form. Here you can see COO minus group, that is showing the anion form of the amino acids. But they present a balance of the pH when amino acid is having both anion and cation group. So that is called as zwitterion. In a solution of the different pH, the structure of amino acid get changed. So depending upon the pH, the amino acid can be cation, anion, or sometimes it is in a zwitterion form. Plant can synthesize all the proteins, amino acid required by them. All the proteins can be synthesized by plants. Animal cannot manufacture their own amino acid from the raw material. They are having the raw material, but they cannot synthesize all the amino acids. So animals have ability to form several amino acids through the transformation and transamination reaction. These are the two different types of reaction, transformation and transamination, that enables animals to form some amino acids in their body. So they cannot synthesize the 7 of the protein amino acids, such amino acids are essential amino acid because they required in their body, but they cannot synthesize that particular amino acids. So how to get that? So essential amino acid must be present in their diet. We get that amino acid in our diet. So leucine, isoleucine, valine, tryptophan, phenylalanine, lysine and methionine. These are the very important amino acids we get from our dietary component. Human adult require an additional essential amino acid named threonine, while the children need 2 more, arginine and histidine. So they are called as semi-essential amino acids. These are the semi-essential amino acids. So total 10 amino acids are there which we required from our diet. Okay, so we discussed about the amino acid. Next is lipids. Lipids are generally water insoluble. It is not solubilized in water. They could be simple fatty acids. The fatty acids are a carboxyl group attached to an R group. So this is the carboxyl group that attached to the R group and forms the fatty acid. The R group could be a methyl, could be ethyl, or higher number of groups, 1 to 19 carbon. Okay, so that forms the lipid. Palmitic acid has 16 carbon, including a carboxyl carbon. So 16 carbon, and that include the carboxyl carbon. Okay. Arachidonic acid, 20 carbon atoms, including the carboxyl carbon. Fatty acid could be saturated. Now there are 2 types of fatty acid, saturated and unsaturated. Without double bond, all the bonds has been saturated in attached to the carbon. So that is why it is called as saturated carbon. If it is having a double bond, then it is considered as unsaturated. CC double bonds are present, then it is unsaturated fatty acids. Another simple lipid is glycerol, which is trihydroxypropane. This is very important. Question has been asked on this. Glycerol, which is trihydroxypropane. Many lipids have both glycerol and fatty acids. Fatty acids are found in esterified with glycerol. So what is glycerol? Glycerol is CH2OH, CHOH, CH2OH. It get combined with R CH2COH. This is one acid, fatty acid. R2CH2COOH, another fatty acid. R3CH2COOH, another fatty acids. So what happened? Water has been removed from here and it formed a bond like this. Water has been removed and it ultimately formed a fatty acid. Okay, so they can be then monoglycerides, diglycerides, or triglycerides. They are also called fats and oil based on their melting points. Oils have lower melting point and hence remain as a oil in winter. So in winter also the oil remain as a oil only, gingerly oil. Some lipid has phosphorus, that is very important. They are present in the plasma membrane, that is phosphorylated organic compound in them, and that is called as phospholipid. They are phospholipids and are found in the cell membrane or the plasma membrane. Example is lecithin. Some tissue, especially the neural tissue, have lipid with more complex structure. Neural tissue is also having this lipid that forms the myelin sheath, and that is very complex structure. So next topic is primary and secondary metabolites. The most exciting aspects of the chemistry deals with the isolating thousands of compounds, small and big, from the living organism, determining the structure and, if possible, synthesizing them. So depending upon the chemistry, thousands of compounds, whether it is a small or big, present in the living organism, their structure and possible of synthesizing them is very, very important. So on the basis of that, biomolecules can be primary metabolites or secondary metabolites. So we have to make a list of the biomolecules. Then such a list would have thousands of organic compounds, including amino acids, sugar. Okay, so those are called as metabolites. In animal tissue, one notices the presence of all such categories of compounds. They are called as primary metabolites. However, when one analyzes plant, fungal and microbial cell, one would see thousands of compounds other than these primary metabolites. Okay, other than these primary metabolites, those are alkaloids, flavonoids, rubber, essential oil, antibiotics, colored pigments, scents, gums and spices. These are all secondary metabolites. Okay. So here are some of the list of the secondary metabolites. Alkaloids, for example, morphine and codeine. Pigments, examples, carotenoids, anthocyanin. Terpenoids, these are a form of oils, monoterpenes and diterpenes. Essential oil, lemongrass oil. Toxins, heparin and ricin. Lectins, concavalin A, very important. Many times the question has been asked on this. Drugs, vinblastine and curcumin. These are the two drugs as a secondary metabolites. And polymeric substances. Some are the polymeric substances like rubber, gums and cellulose. So these are a list of secondary metabolites found in plants and animals. So while primary metabolites have identifiable function, play a known role in normal physiological process. Okay, so primary metabolites have fixed role in the physiological processes. So we do not at the moment understand the role and function of all the secondary metabolite in the host organism. We can find, okay, secondary metabolite, but the exact function of that at a moment we cannot. So however, many of them are useful to the human welfare, but economically they are very important for the human welfare, like rubbers, drugs, spices, scents and pigments. Why the plants is having those secondary metabolites, we cannot understand, but they are very useful for the human welfare. Some secondary metabolites have ecological importance too. So this is all about for this session. We will meet with one more interesting session. Till then, thank you very much.